swan boats,
Cool.
daisy chains. Can't seem to recall my true given name. I see my footprints, how they come, how they go. Was that yesterday, or only a moment ago?
They were lost the last
My
time.
heart is gone. I've gone cold.
I guess I'll do the day show.
My heart is gone. I've gone cold.
Yes.
Past gives way.
Welcome to the social-engineer.org podcast number, where are we at, guys? 60.
Number
One person new.
60.
Dave's not here.
I can't do it as well as Dave.
Dave's not here.
Although at this point I'm sounding like an 80-year-old smoker, so it's the best I can do.
An 8-year-old smoker?
80.
Oh, I thought you said 8. I'm
Like close to my natural age.
Yes, yeah. You are 80. You look 80.
I know.
Yeah.
I feel 80.
Yeah, no, we all feel 80. How you guys doing?
Oh, that was so lame.
That was weak and pathetic. It's sad because if the people who are listening in later can hear or see what we see, that there's like a lot of people in the room for 10:45 a.m. Sunday at DEF CON. So either you guys like really like us or you have no lives. Which is it?
Hardcore.
part the guy's like, I don't know, 50-50. Yeah, balance, I'm not sure. You guys know Johnny Long? Of course, come on.
Hey guys, how are you? Good morning. That's better.
Yeah.
Better.
Thank you. So we needed you to do that. So we got people who are like happy.
I'll just sign up to do that every podcast.
Yeah, I think we should do that. Yeah, just have Johnny's voice. I'm going to cut that out and
There you
replay it. Be like, Johnny's with us again today, and then he comes in all, how you doing?
How you doing?
He's got the radio voice. It's awesome.
He does. Johnny has a podcast voice. I sound like the Godfather, on the other hand, this morning.
But if The Godfather had a podcast, that'd be awesome. So you're okay.
Maybe. Let me make you an offer you can't refuse. There it is. Yeah, there it is. So, geez, man, I tell you, we thought we would just talk a little bit about what happened this year. A lot of good stuff. Talk with Johnny about what he's got going on, and then let you guys get on with your day and take some Q&A too. How many of you didn't get a chance to come in the room during any of the CTF events? Did you try and you couldn't because the line?
Gosh.
So did you complain to DEF CON? No? Do it. You did? Thank you. You know, because what happened, which was nice, is DEF CON came to us, some of their representatives, and they said, so what's going on? We have a lot of people, coming to us complaining about the line. You know, how's your crowd control? And I said, my guys are putting people literally in every square centimeter. For those of you that came in, right, we had people lining every part of the floor you could possibly sit on. We probably were breaking 10 or 12, fire code violations. So I told them that, and I said, and then you guys had goons outside keeping the line. At one point, we had a line this way, going down to the next track, and then they changed the line this way, and it was going down the Wi-Fi Village. So if you guys say something, then next year we may get a bigger room so that doesn't happen, because it seems to be quite a popular event. But for those of you that wanted to come in and didn't get a chance, we can kind of recap what happened. So Thursday, who was here for Thursday? Anybody? That was fun, wasn't it?
Yes,
Thursday,
it was.
the DEF CON
Very
said,
cool.
hey, can you open early? Because we have some things going on Thursday, and we're like, yeah, we can throw together some quick stuff. So we figured we have the booth, let's do something fun with it. So I bought a pair of police handcuffs and leg cuffs, and we figured it'd be cool to like handcuff people behind their back and throw them in the booth, and then chuck the key in the booth, and it's dark in there's no light, and then when they pick they have to get out of the handcuffs, both. Get out of the booth without destroying it, which I tell you is the hardest part of the whole competition, because that booth is like really wobbly. And then Michelle made 10 ciphers. They were real easy. They were just like Caesar ciphers that had varying difference in which direction they went and how many letters they were plus or minus. And they had to solve it in front of the crowd. And the fastest person to do that would win stage one. And that was 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
I think so.
2 minutes and 45 seconds. So that wasn't bad. Then we had a second competition, which was we went to Fry's and we bought a plastic box and a Brinks lock. Something you can pick easily. We wanted it to be under a minute because watching people pick locks is not as fun as doing it. So we didn't want the audience some guy up here for 30 minutes picking a lock. So, and then inside the box was the names of 3 facial expressions, like happiness, anger, sadness, that kind of stuff. And then we had pictures on the screen as they were in the booth in the dark. They had to pick the lock after we threw the lock picks, threw the lock picks in there at them. And Nick did that and usually pelted them in the head with the lock picks, which wasn't nice. And then they had to run out and match the facial expressions correctly. Now, I think the fastest time on that was like 56 seconds.
Yeah, I wasn't even in here for that part, but I know it was really, really quick.
Yeah, so then we're like, okay, we had to have an SE death match. And, how do you have an SE death match? Well, with Nerf guns, of course, because that's what every social engineering engagement involves, right, Johnny?
Yeah, all the ones I've been on.
Yeah. We always use Nerf guns when we're doing SE. So we figured the handcuff guy, we would make it real difficult. So we actually hog-tied him with the handcuffs. We put the handcuffs behind his back and then put the leg cuffs through the handcuffs and then put them around his feet and then threw the key on the floor out here. And he had to crawl like a I don't know what he's like, but like a person who's hog-tied, and to get the key and unlock himself. And then we had a really hard lockbox that was a double-sided wafer lock, and inside the box was 3 Nerf darts, and next to the guy with the handcuffs was 3 Nerf darts, and the first person to unlock himself can grab the darts and shoot the other guy, and that's how he won. So the guy actually got the handcuffs off relatively quickly. I was surprised. And the guy who had the lockpicks ran and started jumping over chairs to run away from him and was still picking while he was jumping over the chairs. Is that guy here? I don't know if he came. So he was jumping over the chairs, still picking the lock. You can see him like raking while he's jumping, and he's hiding behind women. It was just really funny. But he obviously got shot in that face 3 times with a Nerf gun. So SC Deathmatch was won by a handcuff guy. So that was kind of cool. That was really popular. And afterwards, people, and this is no joke, who was here after the event on Thursday? Okay, so you can attest to this. I'm not making this up. There was lines of people saying, handcuff me, handcuff me. And we're like, really? You want to be handcuffed? So we were handcuffing people and throwing them on the floor and throwing the key. And then we're like, okay, this is too ridiculous. We need to make this harder. So we started handcuffing people to each other behind their backs.
We did.
And people were lining up for that. And then we're like, okay, we got to make this more difficult. So we started handcuffing people's legs to other people's arms and behind their backs and contortioning. And everyone was like, oh, I like that, do that. And we had some Colombian girl come in and she like got out of the handcuffs in 12 seconds. Handcuffed to another guy. And she's like, standing up here, hey, I need someone to be handcuffed to me. And like 30 guys came running in the room. I'll do it. They're like fighting over, I'll do it.
Yeah, I think people were enjoying the handcuffing way too much.
Yeah, way too much.
Way
but we
too
are in
much.
Vegas, so. But it was interesting because that was a lot of fun. We didn't think it would take off like that, but that was kind of cool. That was Thursday. Then Friday, we started the calls in the morning. So how many of you had a chance to see Friday's event? That was cool, wasn't it? I mean, so this was our first year ever doing tag teams. So we did the tag teams, and it was a difficult process for us because we had 2 people in the booth, and they had to figure out a pretext that allowed them to hand the call off, which was really interesting. So Friday went amazingly well. I was really shocked at how well it went. And we can actually announce the companies that we called because everyone keeps asking. So on Friday, we called Costco, Staples, Home Depot, and Rite Aid. And people say, why did you choose those? Well, this year we chose retail as our theme, and that was in honor of Target. So we decided to choose retail as our theme to kind of prove the point. Social engineering, guys, right? It was still a huge, huge problem, right? Friday was scary. Then after the event, we had 2 speeches. So we had Brent and Tim came in, and they gave a speech on corporate espionage, which the room was completely packed, and that's where there was a waiting line. And then right after that, Dave Kennedy came in and totally did a great job on that speech on, what was the title of it? Destroying
Security Education.
Yeah, destroying security education. And Dave's style, it was funny. And Dave, So that's all I can say. If you know Dave, and you listen to the podcast at all, you'll understand what I mean. If you didn't get a chance to see that, also a packed room. Then we passed out. Then Saturday was even busier because we had the SECTF for kids. That was a huge deal. That went amazing. So if you guys aren't familiar with that event, this year we built a life-size version of Clue involving SE. So the kids had to run around DEF CON, and where's Amanda? Amanda, can you just give it, like they had to solve ciphers. We hid the cipher on the kids' T-shirt. We actually had T-shirts printed with ciphers on it. They had a Skiddly code, which is, and Amanda was really mean with this. So you guys know what a Skiddly code is? So you take a strip of paper, you wrap it around a tube, and you write your message on it. And then when you unwrap it, it just looks like nothing. But if you wrap it around that same size tube, it spells something. Well, that was too easy, so she shredded the Skiddly tube and put it in a bag of trash. And they had to dig through the bag of trash, find the pieces of paper that were shredded, tape it together, and wrap it around the Skiddly code. And we also limited our kids this year from 5 to 12. Was that the age? 5 to 12. And the fastest team, 4 hours? 5 hours. Now that is huge for us because every year we spend 4 months prepping this stinking contest for these little brats. Sorry if any of you were here. And they do it in 2 hours. One kid did it in an hour last year, and I was like going home crying. I'm demoralized. Spending like 4 months of my life trying to make these kids cry, and they come in like, done. So this year, 5 hours was awesome. And one kid didn't know how to pick the double-sided wafer lock, so he went into Tool and asked Deviant to give him a lesson. And Deviant showed him, here's how you do it. And then he said, I don't want to cheat and take the code out. I want to do it myself. So can you lock it? So he had Deviant lock it, and he picked it himself. It took 30 minutes. That's pretty cool, huh, for the kids? It's really awesome. One team took till 6 p.m. last night. They were working all day from 10 a.m. or 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. last night on this, and they didn't turn their answers in until 6 p.m.
But they finished every task.
They finished every task.
Yes, they did.
That was really cool. So, and we had.
Has the government recruited them yet?
Yeah, I think they actually will.
Okay.
Is Ashley in the room? Okay, so we had something super cool happen. Ashley Wong competed 3 times, and then she's too old this year. So our age requirements before were like 14, and she's 15 or going on 16 this year. And after the first year, she fell in love with cipher and using her critical thinking skills. So she started looking for things in her high school program that she can do to prepare her for the next year's CTF, and she joined a robotics program. And she got so good at it that she was traveling the globe doing robotics competitions, and she's winning. And she gave some interview, and she said, I'm doing this because of what I learned at this event at DEF CON, the SECTF. So she asks if she can come back and work with us this year, and Qualys hears this whole story. And Qualys offers to sponsor the event and buy the first 15 kids free DEF CON passes. So the first 15 kids got in for free to DEF CON, which is just ridiculous. That's never happened before. So of course their parents were like super ecstatic, like not have to pay the fee. And that went really, really well. Those kids like really, really did an awesome job. We were thoroughly impressed with the.
But we didn't make any of them cry this year.
Did any of them cry, Amanda? Darn.
I'm a little disappointed about that. We didn't do our job.
We didn't do our job. Pain and suffering, and these two occurred. And then we had the calls. Saturday we called Walgreens, Macy's, CVS, Walmart, and Lowe's. And par for the course with the SECTF. I won't name the company, but there was the CISO of one of those companies sitting in the audience. And when his company was called, there was a little fear. He was really cool. So he pulled one of us aside and gave us a card and said, I'd like to hear more. And I was like, this is her event. I have nothing to do with it. Scooch in. I guess there are people standing outside, par for the SE Village here. Wow. Now it looks different, Evan. Now it looks so different. I liked it before. So the big question, and then Saturday night we had Jason Street give a speech to a packed house. That was really cool speech if you didn't hear it. Jason style, it's like, he just sat up here and talked to the audience and gave stories about all of his worldwide exploits. That was really neat. And then I talked about body language. Michelle talked about shrinking everyone in the audience with her psych stuff. And that went over really well. And then we had Kevin Mitnick in here. So it was a really packed night. And then we had for those of you that were able to come, our private party here last night. And that was a really packed event too. So that was kind of cool. Thank you. Thank you for that. So everyone's been asking what were the results of the CTF. So let me show you. Do we have the projector on?
They went in standby.
And something else really cool happened for us too during my speech. So I was talking at what, like 3:30, 4:30, something like that, 5:30, I can't remember. And Hackerjar came in and he says, "Hey, can you stop your speech for a second? I need to talk to you." Which of course is odd because we were a DEF CON track this year and we were being recorded. And he pulls me in the back and says that we're a black badge event. So that's just really nice for us. So that means our first place winner gets a black badge this year. So that's really cool. Is it not? Oh, that's because I don't have projector thing. So I have it plugged in, but it's right here in front of me. See, this helps when you have
Technology.
technology. Must be smarter than projector. Okay. Oh, that was our stuff for yesterday. Sorry. We had everyone interested in this Duchenne smile thing on the speech. Oops, sorry. So, this is the way it kind of panned out. So the top team was the Schmooze Operators. Interesting story about them is the person who was supposed to compete, the male part of that team got sick. He says he was sick. We think he was DEF CON sick. So, so he didn't show, but we said, can you find someone from the audience that's willing to kind of, stand up and get in the booth? And she did. She found a friend that was like, yeah, I'll give it a try. Never did anything like this before. And they get in the booth and they dominate it. So really, really cool. And then Brochel Engineers, that was another fun team. JC and Ryan, they took second. So that's a really cool thing. We're really happy to see how this worked out this year. This is our Social Engineer CTF database that we have made for that. So we're Schmooze Operators. You guys here? Hey guys, nice job. Congratulations, by the way. What are you gonna do with that black badge? You're gonna, and you know what's even more funny about this story is she competed against her husband, and she won.
That's called marriage.
That's called marriage. That's gonna be a fun ride home. Yeah. So I think that black badge is gonna be used in a lot of family arguments. But that will be fun to have. We'll be talking about getting you on the podcast soon to talk about the way you planned it all out and your report and things like that, which were all very, very good. So any questions on the CTF or anything that, I know we did a really nice thing this year, which was new for us too, is that we, after every call, we stopped and we paused and we discussed it with the audience. Did you guys like that? Did you like that? Yeah, okay. So that was good, right? Because I felt like we were kind of missing something with all the other previous times, and people would come up after and ask a lot of questions, so I felt this could help us all apply what we were seeing here and use it to our advantage. Yeah, we have a mic here if you want to come up so it can be in the record. Let's make sure it's on, and it is not. I think it needs to be all the way up. Yep, there you are.
All right. For those who weren't able to make it, would you mind listing the challenges that you gave the teams while they were making the calls?
I can do that. I can actually show you. We have the technology now. Yes, we can fix him. Okay, so the way that this challenge works is we give each contestant this list of flags. And it's similar to the CTF across the road here. They have flags they have to obtain, but these are informational-based flags. So these are the things that we want them to obtain from the company, all of these flags. And these will be listed in the final report on the website, so you'll get a chance to review all these more closely. And the point system represents, RPT is report points. So each contestant has to write a report on their target company and using only OSI. So they cannot contact, they cannot fish, they cannot scam, they cannot go break into their facilities, you know. This is not... This is supposed to be, what are they putting on the open web? Again, to prove a point. Is there too much information on the web that can be used for attacks? And I will tell you, some of these reports were scary. Scary. Like, I'll give you an example without naming a company. One report, they found a instruction document for their corporate website, employee login. So you go to do the employee login, and it says, if you don't know how to log in, here's our instructions. In the instruction document was an example of how to log in with pictures of a badge, and the ID and password that are in the instructions work to log in. Yeah. Why is that on the web in 2014? I mean, this is, and no hacking, no breaking into their servers. This is on the web. You find it with a Google Dork. Thank you to Johnny Long for Google Dorking, which we'll talk about shortly. So all of these things they have to find, and we give them half points for the reporting side of it, and then we grade them also on the quality of their report. So, like, let me just see if I can show you, let's see, I'll give you an example of this, 38903. Yeah, like, look at some of the quality that we got. Look at this report. Look at this thing. Is this not beautiful? Look at this. She made artwork for it. Look at this. I mean, look at this. Copyright statements, table of contents. I mean, this thing's 17 pages of awesome. I mean, look at this. Look at this. And I'm not going to slow down. No, so don't ask. And that goes away. Yes. Okay. But it's interesting because we got some really high quality reports. Now, you say, why is this important? Last year, 9 out of the 10 target companies contacted us afterwards and asked for help, you know, like, hey, can we get our information? Would you mind giving it to us so we can fix the problems that you found? And we do that. We give it to them. And we scrape all the information out of it that's like contestant data or any employee-specific data, and then we give them all that info so they can use it. So to answer the final part of the question, and then they have to get in the booth and obtain the same flags on a live phone call. And then they get points for that. So the point system that you saw was based on these factors, and that determines who wins. And the team who won was able to do this ridiculous tag out scheme. Like, we had to tag out because you had a partner. And they played, tell me your pretext again. So if you couldn't hear that, they were doing a security audit, and she was getting vendor-related information, and he was doing all the security-related information. So it made sense of why they would hand the phone off. And they were able to tag out, and you get 10 points for each successful tag out. So they were able to accomplish it there. So, yeah, that's the basis for the CTF. Hopefully that answers your question. Were there others? Turn the mic back on because I think he turned it off. We can leave it on too when you're done.
So, one, you still need to hire me.
Oh.
Just one.
Okay, that's not a question.
No, I know. So, one of the things I know that I've talked to you about is doing a physical engagement of sorts. Why and why not do you not want to move into that? And what could be the, I guess, negative, the why nots and the severe why nots of why not?
Yeah, okay, so we had that question come up during one of the events about changing the event up so it's more physical. And I'd like to get, Johnny's, your opinion on this too, but I know there's other SE competitions that involve physical stuff like getting into hotel rooms and things like that, but they do break the law. Now, believe it or not, we have a lawyer that we hire to make sure that we don't break the law in this event. And she reads the flags every year, and she tells us what to take out. She makes sure that we're not getting anything that can be considered used for fraud or anything like that. She reviews the pretext that I send her, so we get a list of pretexts that people want to use, and she tells me which ones that should not be used. And she helps us set up the rules. So 5 years ago when we started this, she gave us a list of rules that we should use, so that way nobody gets in trouble. So is this a risque competition? Yes. And does it ride that line? Yes. But we're not stepping over it. Now, as soon as we get into physical stuff, you're breaking and entering into someone's property, right? So if I say, hey, I want you to go into a dumpster in the Rio here and find some personal information that somebody threw away, you're entering someone's private domain. And if you get caught, you get arrested. I do this for a living, so I don't want to get anyone arrested, right? I do this for a living, and my whole goal with this is to promote education, that we need to be educated on social engineering. So I haven't yet come up with an idea how we can include physical into SE without stepping over that line. What do you think, Johnny?
Well, part of what I'm thinking as you're talking about this is that the landscape has really changed an awful lot. I mean, when I started, we were in the glory days, 15, 20 years ago in this industry, where you as an individual could do all of this stuff. You could do SE stuff, you could do physical stuff, you could do wireless assessments, web assessments, network assessments, and kind of be a jack of all trades and be very effective in this industry doing all that stuff. These days, you really have to specialize, and I think one of the key points here is when you start to blend, these specialties. For example, SE and using pretext to get access to a physical location or a building or something like that, you've crossed over into another skill set. For us, we didn't have any problem learning as we were going along, because as an industry, we were all kind of figuring this stuff out.
That's for sure.
But I think you do a client a disservice by blending those lines too much, where you're in a skill set that you're not that good at. Not to say that SEs aren't going to be good physical security people, but statistically speaking, they're not going to be. The physical security people are going to be good at physical security, and they're going to do a really good job auditing the client. And at the end of the day, it's not about fun or cool that you broke into a place. It's about securing your client. So
that's actually a really good point.
Yeah, I mean, if you're goofing off with this stuff and it's fun and it's interesting and it's contesty, that's one thing. But I think what we're trying to do is, as a whole, try to make the industry more secure.
Yeah.
So, Johnny,
really.
it sounds like you're a fan of specialization then.
Oh, you're going to drag me into a political discussion. Yeah, I mean, I grew up, and it's interesting because this is one of the reasons I love DEF CON, is because I can move around and really enjoy all the different facets of DEF CON. And I think a lot of people enjoy that as well. You can really appreciate it. But the downside of the way that I did business is I was never great at anything. Jack of all trades, master of none, and that
I beg to differ on that.
Well, but it did well. It boded well for me, because I eventually became a team leader. And as a team leader, I really had a decent amount of knowledge about what the members of my team were doing. I never chose a specialty necessarily, and it worked for me. It worked for that role. But at the same time, if I was to drop back in, and choose a specialty, I'd be a bit at a loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I agree with this, because there was a time when I was working with all the Backtrack guys where I loved writing exploits and doing all that research. And then when I started to focus solely on SE, I couldn't be the master of everything. And I found that I had to focus on one thing, or I was kind of doing a disservice to my clients. So now that's all I do. And you're right, we do impersonation in our company, but we don't do red teaming, like the actual lock picking and jumping over fences and stuff. We walk up to the door and use SE skills to enter the building. So there is a difference, and I agree that you can't really master it all. But I think trying to do that for the competition would also cross that line a little bit.
Yeah, and part of it too is, this brings us down into the depths of discussing the effectiveness of pen tests.
Yeah.
Which we obviously don't want to get into, but it does beg that question, like, what's your ultimate goal? Is it to just succeed and get in and count yourself a victory, or is it to secure your client?
Yeah, I love that, because that's actually a great topic point, because that is a mentality that as pen testers, at least we try to get out of, because it's not just about winning. It's okay to fail if you failed because your client caught you, right? I mean, we did a physical impersonation test just a couple months ago, I think, Michelle and I, and they had 4 buildings they want us to get into, and we got into 3, and the third one we couldn't get into, and it was because the security guard was so dang good. He caught everything that we tried. He went as far as Googling my fake name that I gave him on a fake business card, and he couldn't find me anywhere, so then he started asking me questions that I couldn't answer. Oh, so you say you're new in the area. Where do you live? Maybe we live close, And I was like, oh, I live over there. And he's like, oh, which direction is that? And I'm like, in town. And he's like, I don't know, there's any housing places in town. That's like all commercial. Oh, yeah. Okay, I got to go. It was like there was nothing that could be done.
And I think you were just completely set up there. You were testing a CIA safe house.
But we put that in the report, that this guy was amazing. And it was okay to fail for us there, because instead of having to have a 100% success ratio, I was okay saying that you need to make this guy your trainer for all of your other security guards. And they did that. He got a lot of accolades in the company. We put his name in the report. We went back, we gave him a special challenge coin. When we went back to the company, we said, you are the only person that caught us in the whole company. We gave him a challenge coin. We told the president of the company, this is your guy. Like, you take him and you let him train all your other people. Because not only did he catch us, but he was calling us sir and ma'am the whole time. And he was polite, and he kept a smile on his face. He never got aggressive. How do you be that secure and nice? And it was like, he should train everybody. This guy was awesome.
It's because he's CIA.
Yeah. He's Mr. Smith. So
I would take that a step farther, and I would say that, for people that are doing physical stuff, every assessment that you do should end in failure.
Yeah.
You should really, not back off on a victory, but you should, I used to keep ratios, of how our percentage of success, and I was proud to say that, 100% of the time we got in and we were successful. But I look back on that and I go, well, that was really doing our clients a disservice. Every single one of those that we succeeded, we should have pushed until we failed.
Yeah.
To really find the upper limits and to really weed out all that different stuff. That gets your ego completely out of the way, and it's not as sexy,
Yep.
You can't keep a a kill log that's spotless, but it's really not about us anyway.
It's not. And and it's great when you do get a chance to work with a client more than once and see that happen. Like for us, we had a phishing test that we did a year ago. And it was terrible for them. I mean, they really, really had a bad time. And then a year later, we went back, and we failed miserably. I mean, we were like at 27% or something with that?
Yeah, it was really hard on our egos.
Yeah,
I
mean,
recall.
it was because we were like, when they called us again, we're like, oh yeah, in the bag, it's going to be good, I mean, we were just, anything we did, they were giving us info. They were clicking every link we sent. They were just doing everything. But then they took the education we gave them, and they really applied it. And then we went back, and it was like, no. We had people going, this doesn't sound right. Click. And we're like, what? Wait, I called you last year, and you puked up everything I asked you, and now I don't understand. Different pretext, different everything, and we couldn't get through. Now, when you swallow your ego, like Johnny said, at the end you go, wait, look how awesome that is. They actually stopped us, which means that they took the education from a year ago, and their whole company culture changed. 1,500 people.
Yeah,
changed.
and that's also, I mean,
Yeah.
you look at that as the path of growth as well.
Yeah.
Not just for the client, but for us as professionals.
Yeah.
That's how you learn and take everything to the next level. If this was easy, it wouldn't be fun. It wouldn't be lucrative. Everybody would be doing it.
That's right.
And that's the nature of the rest of this community, is pushing the limits, pushing the envelopes, getting, having tougher challenges. And I think sometimes on the physical side, maybe the SE side, we have a tendency sometimes to back off a little bit because the same old stuff can work.
Yeah.
The No Tech Hacking book was a great example of that. I mean, that book's coming up on like almost 10 years old.
I still use that book.
Right, and it's still a great reference and all, and a lot of that stuff still works, but you can't rest on that.
Yeah.
You got to keep pushing, and that's where the fun comes in.
Yep.
It's not just the ego of doing it. It's the extreme challenges.
Yeah.
These guys that you got a 27% on, you know, you got a bruised ego, but at the same time, you're like thinking through it.
Yep.
What am I going to do? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
What's the next step? Because
Yep.
the bad guys are already there.
But it's hard to change that mindset, wouldn't you say, Johnny? Because everyone's really invested in in this particular community. We like to win.
Yeah. And I guess the idea is that you have to change the definition of a win.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
every failure is a possibility for a win. It's an idea that you can grow through that, and that's the win. So
Yeah, how many of you have ever heard a pen tester get up giving a speech and say, I have a 75% success ratio? Nobody does that, right? It's always 100%. And I had someone come up and ask me during the CTF, you know, so what's your success ratio? And I said, I don't really know. We don't keep it. And I go, but if I had to base it on the last job, it'd be about 75%. And he's like, oh, you're like the only guy who doesn't get 100%. And I'm like, okay. You know, I mean,
look at sports like baseball. What's considered a good
Yeah, I
batting
don't know.
average? You know, it's not 100%.
yeah.
You're
I
not
mean, I guess if
batting
you want to
1,000.
count 100%, it could be one compromise. But,
Right, that's
you know,
true.
we
And then
compromise
retire.
one person, you know.
Then you quit.
Yeah, then you quit. But that's not, it doesn't do the service for the company. And I think that also ties into the CTF because if you remember, our first call was to Costco. And who was here for that call? Okay, so you guys saw, right? You guys and gals saw. I mean, it was like fail, 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 and it was not working. They were getting stopped. Those employees were awesome. I mean, that one guy said, this is not happening because when I get a call from corporate, it comes from this extension, and you're calling me from a 626 number. What's going on? And they tried everything. Fail, fail. I mean, those employees were just slapping. And what I loved is the room was clapping for Costco. That made me really happy. Like, you guys were like, yeah, they're doing it, you know, and everybody was clapping because we saw security finally. It was like, yes, we finally see someone doing it right. And I think it was like 5 phone calls where they just weren't getting anything. And then finally the 6th one, they got the person who was there 2 weeks, you know, and then it was like, doof, done. Now, you can sit there if we were pen testers and say, that means I have a 100% success ratio because I compromised. But if we were being honest, we would say that was a 20% success ratio. But, you know.
Have you ever used that? It gives me the thought. Have you ever, like, as a pretext, purposely gone after the new people, like calling from human resources, looking for the new hires,
Yep.
like target them, and you know that'll only work so long. But you know, pick out the weakest link. It's
Yeah.
kind of cool.
So that was a good question. Thank you. That sparked a conversation. Any others that we can talk on? Don't be shy. I know it's early in the morning. Yes, if you can come to the mic, that would be awesome. Or Nick, if you can, no, or she's coming, that's good.
Hi, what are some of the other pretexts that were used in this exercise?
That's a good question. I can't remember them all. Michelle probably has a better memory than me because her brain's bigger. But I know we saw a lot of corporate IT, right, Michelle?
Yes, we did.
A lot of corporate IT, a lot of,
A lot of folks doing audits.
yep. And then there was one that was really different that I really enjoyed. What did they do? What was it? Recruiting. Well, tell me that one.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Want to refine their resume search.
Thank you. Yeah, so they worked for a recruiting company, and they wanted to refine their search for the recruiters and for their employees before they sent them to this company to be interviewed. So they wanted to know what kind of tech they use so they can get the right skill set.
That's brilliant. Well
Marcia,
done.
can I introduce you? Marcia Hoffman, everybody. This is the person who keeps us out of jail. Hey, Marcia, can I ask you a question that was asked to us that maybe you can help? And I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, but you know, you can charge me for this. No. So somebody asked us, why don't we expand this competition into the physical environment? And you know, we're very uncomfortable with that, like having people break into places physically. And I tried to give an answer that was, you know, just personal, but there's obviously legal implications to expanding this competition into now, like go into the dumpster in Rio and find something personal or something like that, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, what was the actual question? Are there particular types of things that people are thinking about doing?
Yeah, like taking this competition from just phone calls to actual physical entry type of SE.
Yeah. Well, you know, one of the things you always have to worry about is trespass when you're talking about the physical realm, right? Going into places where you're physically not supposed to be. And, I think that if, as a group, you all decided you wanted to try to think about how to do something like that in the future, we could think about ways to do it creatively so that, we could actually look at the laws and then think about the things that we might want to do and figure out if there are ways we can do them without violating the law. This is something that we've talked about with this competition for a long time now, right? With the various eavesdropping laws and whatever, and we take certain measures to try to make sure that we're doing this as safely as we possibly can do it. And, I think that if there are particular activities that you all think you might want to do next year, we should talk about that and figure out if there's a way to actually do it.
See, that's the answer that I would like to give, that I don't know how to speak that way, so.
I was thinking it, as you were talking about this, I was thinking about the tool competitions, the complexity and diversity of some of the tool competitions that we've seen. And I don't know if you guys have worked with Tool at all in terms of the way that they set these up to try to steer them in a way that's responsible or what, but it seems like these guys have put a lot of thought into diversity and being able to set up challenges that are in a controlled environment that include those technologies that you might see there. And we kind of do it in-house as like maybe a partnership with Tool. You work together to set up sort of a contest event area that Tool can use and that you can use as part of the CTF. And then it's your property and it's fun and it's creative, but it's part of a bigger picture. Plus you're pulling the experts in that part of the industry, and as opposed to it being, not to put this in a bad way, but the SE guys.
Right,
you know what I mean? It's actually working together as part of our community.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, if you guys got the answer, that was the answer we wanted, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thanks, Marcia.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So just give that one a thank. Yes, please. So, yes, sir. If you can hit the mic, that would be great.
For the lawyer, is fishing, spearfishing, whaling, is that crossing the line also?
Sorry, Marcia. You're going to be running up and down the aisle. I would imagine so, but I'm probably wrong again.
So the question is fishing okay, basically? So, yeah. Well, I want to be careful here. I can't really give legal advice in this room, so I'm not going to tell you that you shouldn't do something or you should do something. And if you have particular questions for me about some of the things that you're thinking about and what you're up to, feel free to come chat with me and we'll have a confidential discussion. But I think as a general matter, spearfishing and whaling is probably not a good idea legally. But if you want to come chat with me later, feel free to do that.
And yeah, I'll say personally, so I'm not a lawyer, so this is not legal advice. Personally, I don't feel comfortable with it because I do fishing for a living. So I fish like small companies and huge companies, and I see people get mad all the time. And they're told, like we work with a huge company, and we tell their people, you're gonna get a fish, we're gonna fish you. By the way, it may even look like this, and we paste like a sample fish in the message. And it's going to come sometime in the next, this period of time. We try to, it's like almost ridiculous how much they get warnings in some companies, and they still get mad. People will still get ticked off that they got fished. Now, that's in an environment where we are allowed to do it, where we're paid to do it, and where the president of the company says, yes, you have sanction to go fish. I can't imagine what people would feel like if we were to do it and they were to find out it was part of a competition.
I'm going to use words that sound very legal and also say that I'm not a lawyer as well, so don't hang me on this. But this is, this is electronic fraud, deception, and that gets into some very dangerous waters, I would imagine. So, and that's one thing I love about these competitions is that these are run, they're very wholesome and and clean and legally very, very clear. And I think as soon as you start piling in some of this other stuff, it starts to get a little messy and. You risk the future of being able to continue doing this kind of thing. So,
even if Marcia later on said, hey, you could do this, we found a way around it, I don't feel comfortable with it because I see how my clients react when we do it and it's legit. I've actually seen people get so mad that they want me fired because they got a fish. And we're not fishing to shell. We're talking fishing to education. They click the link and they get a page that automatically says you're part of your company's fishing program. And here's the 3 things we want you to do. to not be tricked by phishing. So they know right away that it was just part of an educational program, and they're still so mad that they want to murder me. And so I can't, and that's where I have the backing of their legal department saying, no, we said it was okay, so chill out. I can't imagine if I did that just, flippantly.
I will say that I know that over the years, because I worked with you for a while, you've put a lot of thought into what the flags look like, what the rules of the contest are, and really trying hard to create an environment that is meant for education and is not something that hopefully will get people very angry. Yeah. But the activity of social engineering, I think, is just innately a little bit risky in the sense that people are likely to get upset because it involves tricking people, right?
Yeah.
And so you got to be careful about the kind of information that you're getting and make sure that everybody understands that this isn't a malicious thing. Yep. And hopefully, I think as time goes on and the competition gets more widely known among the group of companies that are likely to be targets of it, I think that they will see the benefits of it, and I think that that's fantastic. But we always have to be careful not to get anybody too angry, so that Oh, yes.
There's a legal problem with it. Well, Nevada's a two-party consent state, so we can't. Any type of recording would be considered wiretapping. I'm not doing too far with that, right?
Right, just like with trespass, there are questions about consent and what have you. When we talk about conversations, there are laws that come into play. There's a federal wiretapping law, and each state, almost every state, has a state equivalent. And we work really hard to make sure that we don't cross any lines with the wiretapping laws. We keep a very close eye on that. And so we've made a decision that recording the conversations is not a good idea because it would be intercepting them, and that takes us a little bit closer to a problematic area. So the conversations aren't recorded.
Yeah.
You can just go get them off the NSA archives. I'd probably
and we're pretty strict about that, to the point of if those of you were in the room, you all heard us make announcements every call, right? No audio or video recording. And then we ask the people, do you allow pictures? And if they say yes, we say okay to pictures, but no audio or video. I mean, that's important for us, because we don't want to, and it's not us, right? If you record it, let's say you sat here and recorded it, you're not going to get me in trouble, right? I'm not going to get in trouble. You're going to be the one getting in trouble. So we don't make that announcement because I'm afraid for my welfare. I'm not recording. Those calls they don't live anywhere near anything. So I'm not worried about me. It's you guys. We don't want you guys to get in trouble.
Did you remember to have everybody pull the batteries from the badges? Because they are doing recording. I don't know if you knew that.
Darn, really? Are they recording? No, we didn't have anyone pull.
Made you look.
You did too, actually. I was like, there are some things in here I don't know what they are.
So I got two questions. Obviously, I participated in the event.
Yep.
And while we went through it, I found Maltego and Google to be some of the good technical tools. Do you guys have any other tools besides the one in the book, or the ones in the book, that you guys like? Also, my second question is, I really enjoyed this. It's super fun, but I can't imagine outside of a CTF environment, getting practice doing it. I want to do it more, but I enjoy my day job and things, so.
Your freedom from incarceration.
Right. So.
Yeah,
I'm going to throw in just a big, +1 on Maltego. I think any time spent learning more about Maltego, using the transforms, understanding how they work, is time well spent. I can give you lots of suggestions for all sorts of different one-offs, but at the end of the day, those guys are doing that heavy lifting for us, discovering, new sources of information, figuring out how they connect to each other. So we might stumble on something every now and again that they haven't found, but at the end of the day, if you're plugging all of that stuff into a larger picture and being able to transform the data that comes out of that new thing that you found and plug it into the next thing, man, all day long, Maltego,
Yeah, Maltego's awesome. I mean, I don't know other tools that I would recommend, because now, how many of you know that Johnny started the Google hacking database? Okay, for those that don't know it, the reason we can even talk about that is because of this man right here. You know, he started that whole process, cataloging Google operands that lead us to information. And now that's taken over by the folks at OffSec, and they're managing the GHDB, or the Google Hacking Database. And those are the two tools that I say I use the most when it comes to OSI. Google is like the Oracle, and Maltego helps scrape the Oracle for everything we need. So
yeah, and of course the operands that are changing, within Google, they're changing all the time. The advanced operators are being updated all the time, and it's a worthwhile investment to obviously keep up on those so that you can have a fine-tuned approach to your Google searches, and obviously that's very important. But the guys at Maltego are doing that as well, making sure that the new operators are included, and every change to search engines operators are included in Maltego, because it's a huge advantage for them in terms of their searching. We are working on updating the Google Hacking book, Google Hacking for Penetration Testers. So it's coming out to its third revision. Again, another book that is 10 years old in its first version. So it's and about seven years old in the second version already. So it's due for an update,
awesome.
and still doing strong. So that's thanks to you guys, for supporting that. So within the next few months or so, you're gonna start to see some updates about how that's coming along. So, but yeah, I definitely say Maltego.
There's some interesting things though to answer the question that Johnny talks about in that book that maybe aren't tools, but to answer part of your second question, which is how do I practice this without ending up in prison? And we get this question a lot. And I tell you, social engineering is just having a conversation with another person and learning how to do it so they want to give you information. So we, as an industry, sit behind these things 18 to 23 hours a day. And then the other hour is involved like sleeping and showering, hopefully, the showering part. So I don't know about you guys, but many days I'll eat behind this thing. I'll wake up with this thing next to me. I'll be working next to this thing all day. I'll even spend time with my kids with this thing, right? So we forget sometimes how to interact with human beings. And social engineering is learning how to do that again. So learning how to have a conversation. Learn how to go out and build rapport with a complete stranger. Learn how to get someone to want to give you their full name, not because you're malicious, but because you're friendly. And that will increase your ability to be a better social engineer in the booth or on a pen test or anywhere else.
Another suggestion not to interrupt you, but another suggestion I would throw in there is one tool that's indispensable for writers is just people watching, and I know that's huge for you guys as well, but one thing that I found that was kind of a missing link that I always, that I didn't do very well was sort of learning from those experiences in a constructive way. It's one thing to watch and to see the things, but one tool that I would use as a writer is, just watching people when I'm out and about, I'm at the coffee shop or at the grocery store or whatever, and actually recording some of that stuff for character development. It's an old tool for writers, building, strengthening dialogue and character development when they're writing novels. And I think that plays very well here because it's a good way to kind of keep track of those little things that you notice, little nuances that you might not remember later on, once the coffee comes and there's not enough sugar in this, I need sugar. And then you've forgotten all about the thing you just saw. So I'd encourage you to just be out and about. Stop socializing and, doing this at the coffee shop and heads down on the, phone,
Interact
just
with
observe
humans.
and write it down, interact with people, keep a log of the things that happen so that you can refer to them. Because that stuff adds up into just a comprehensive understanding of human nature and interaction. And really that's the foundation of the trade.
And how many of you people ever seen the talk that Johnny did where he took pictures of people's cars, the back of their cars, and then you seen that one? That's up. Some of us. If you haven't, look it up on YouTube because this is another part of that skill. It's like noticing people's things. Like he took pictures of bumper stickers and what was in the back of their window in their car, and then who do you think this person looks like? I love that speech. That was one of my favorite things I ever heard you do. And then he actually waited around and stalked these poor people and took a picture of them. And to show you how right or wrong you were guessing what that person looked like based on what you saw. And that kind of a skill is great for a social engineer. And you don't have to be creepy about it, right? You're not hiding in the bushes with a micro cam taking pictures of girls or something. You can do this relatively easily just walking through the mall parking lot, and taking a look at someone's car and saying, oh, I think this, and then you see the person come out, you're like, okay, I was on that. And you start to build like a mental database of these things, and it helps you pick up and be more observant.
Yeah, and I know you've talked about this an awful lot too. Is building up the clues that are good for a successful pretext. You know,
Yeah.
all these little minute details about the way they dress, the way they walk, the little identifying items that you can pick up on that'll help you slam dunk that pretext and just take it to the next level and get beyond the this doesn't sound right phase like really quickly. Those are the things that you can work on without being on the phone actually doing an SC against somebody and getting thrown in jail for it. But that was the no tech hacking talk. So if you're interested in seeing that, you know, it's YouTube.
Yeah,
I
it's
guess
on
all
YouTube.
over the place.
Yeah, it's all over the place. I think we had another tool maybe that someone.
Yeah, I just wanted to provide a comment. Recon NG is an excellent tool for
That is
pulling
an
all
excellent
kinds of information about folks. So, in addition to Maltego, I would throw Recon NG in there in the mix.
And that's in Cali, right, Jameson? Yeah.
Yeah, it's in Cali.
Yep. So you can get that, or you can just download it onto your machine.
That's Tim Tomes, right?
Yeah.
If the folks working with Maltego ever get a chance to talk to Palantir, they have systems that I obviously can't talk about, but they have systems in place that work exactly like Maltego, but on a military structural database type of aspect, and it's almost hand in hand. It's really scary hand in hand of who knows who and who knows what, and it's really interesting stuff.
Yeah. So that was a good question. Now, was there another in the back?
Thanks. So I've been doing this for kind of years and didn't really realize it was called social engineering until probably this weekend.
Join the club.
So I sat in on a bunch of calls yesterday, and one of the things I noticed was that a lot of the companies that were being targeted were like giant corporations that have thousands of employees and are a bit more sort of penetrable in that sense because there's so many actors that don't know each other. But the companies that I'm often, quote unquote, working with are much smaller, sort of closed loops of like 60 to 100 people, if that. And so I'm wondering if that's ever been sort of a part of the competitions here and how people have sort of developed different strategies to do the same kind of work on a sort of smaller scale.
So we never made part of the competition to use small companies. Again, the way we developed the competition with help of like Marcia and others is to kind of make an educational point. That is, that social engineering is still a huge threat, and it's a huge threat to corporate America. And we need to be educating our companies, our clients, ourselves about it. Does it work in small companies? Yes, but differently, right? Like you made the valid point. Larger companies, it's easier because people don't know each other. So I can be Tim from IT, and you might not ever know Tim from IT, so it makes sense. But if we're in a company of 60 people, you probably can look over the cube and see the IT guy. And if I say, hey, I'm calling from IT, you go, hey, Chris, are you calling me? No? Okay, well, this guy's a scammer, right? So you have to use different pretexts, which would be vendors or people, like people interested in a job, people interested in buying the product. Salespeople are always awesome targets for smaller companies because salespeople will click anything if they think you're going to buy something. So, you have a small company and you say, I'm really interested in buying like $1 million of your product. Here's my PDF with my RFP. They'll open it without thinking. So, there's ways within small companies, but it's definitely more difficult.
Yeah, I see the big companies. Basically, you're looking at a larger attack surface. You've got a lot of different vectors. It's not just the actors. You have so many different vectors, ways in. For us, the smaller companies, when we ever had the smaller companies and it was a little more targeted, we would spend time in the physical space. Those smaller companies have a tendency to go out to lunch together. They follow a lot of the same patterns. There was a lot of reconnaissance that we would do before we would pick up the phone, which made it well worth it. That smaller community, you have the ability to get in deep, because of the tight-knit community. One lunch can get you everything you need to successfully get in there before you even pick up the phone. if that's possible, if you can get on site. And we found that to be incredibly effective.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we don't realize is how much time is spent prior to an engagement. If you're doing your job correctly and if you want to do well at the engagement, most of your time is going to be taken up by gathering as much information, making as many observations as possible. For every hour of time you spend on a physical engagement, hopefully you will have spent hours and hours doing some reconnaissance and information gathering to make you more effective. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much time is spent in that or should be spent in that.
That's a good point, too.
Yeah.
Nice question. Thank you.
You mentioned taking pictures of backs of cars and trying to deduce who those people were. Seems a little Sherlock Holmesian. Are there other things that you've noticed are good to deduce about people, or easy to deduce about people, or that come in handy to deduce about people just by looking at them, interacting with them, things on their clothing?
Yeah, I mean the idea, the context of the bumper sticker and car thing that he's talking about really played more to physical assessments. And the reason I had those photos is because they were collected on physical assessments of facilities. So in those particular cases, what we were doing is we were actually trying to get an idea of who was in the building. So for example, we'd find, DOD parking permits and we'd know, okay, oh, this is the DOD facility. Whereas the next one you start to see, okay, this one's more corporate. Mm-hmm. And when you're in a business park, if you have a corporate facility that's next to a DOD contract facility and they share walls or they share soft ceilings, we're not going to bang on the, DOD side when we can get into the other side, and we'd have to go back and get permission from the landlord who owns the lease, and it would be a big mess. But that was the idea behind the bumper sticker thing. In terms of targeting individuals, learning about individuals, obviously the car that they get out of can give you some clues about who they are, the way that they dress, conversations that they have on the phone when they're walking away from the car, people that they interact with in public spaces. All of these things are just basically tiny little clues, and you're right, there is a little bit of Sherlock Holmes stuff that can be there, but by and large, doing enough of these things can get you just a little bit of a toehold into what you're dealing with that would be hard to grab other ways. But yeah, the things I looked at would be specifically the way that they dress, the way their hair, the jewelry, identifying things on their luggage or the bags that they're carrying, stickers on the computers. All of these things can get you a profile pretty quickly. And then, of course, bringing things together from different realms. Like one thing I talked about was screenshots on the computer and stuff technical information that you can get from seeing their screen. You get an email that's on the screen, you look for that SIG. If you have 2 seconds to see a screen, you look at the signatures of the emails, you look at the taskbars, you look at certain things so that you pull these clues from all sorts of different areas to basically build a profile. Now, that sort of depth is not often necessary for SE. It's critical when you're doing a physical assessment and you're grabbing all these clues to help you blend into an environment physically and more specifically to blend into that culture, which it makes it night and day with not only getting in but staying in and moving around in time for us, for example, to get a network drop, mm-hmm. so that we can have a callback box that we can plug in. But it doesn't always lend itself to SE, but there's just an awful lot of crossover.
And I think for things like phishing or spear phishing, I'll use a lot of the social media profiles. So how do they stand in their pictures? What kind of things do they release about themselves? And it's not so much the information even, it's just looking at it very holistically, like, the people is it very formal pictures? Do they take glamour shots of themselves? Is it always them on vacation? Are they free with their kids in pictures? Or they always talking about their favorite kinds of food?
Or
These
pets.
things can tell you a lot about the type of person you're dealing with, and they can help you craft a better spear phishing, whaling, or phishing message to them.
Finding that hook, Oh, this is a pet person.
Yep.
Oh, that's a good way to open them up really quickly is talk about, bring up pets. Kind of randomly. Suddenly the awkwardness is gone because they're talking about something they're excited about and they lose track of the fact that this is a stranger.
Yep.
And that's the win,
Exactly. And I'm a big into body language guy, so I always like looking at that too. you know. So, any of you guys familiar with Hackers for Charity? Who's familiar with that?
No.
Okay, good. Well, for those of you that are not familiar, so Johnny moved overseas to Africa. How many years ago now?
5 years now.
5 years.
Yeah.
And he helped set up places with technology for kids in Africa so they can learn how to use computers and get technology. And some of the stories, if you go to his website and read things that he's helped with farmers and other people down there, I love those kind of stories. You hear these people who don't have access to things maybe normally, and then they can get on the internet and they can find something that can help them fix their crops. Something that maybe we take for advantage, how simple it is to find because we're connected 24/7, and these people may have never have found the answer. And Johnny goes down there and helps set up these little technology schools where people can come and use computers, where kids can learn to use technology, and hoping that they can advance maybe education, and that's supported through events like here at DEF CON, DerbyCon. I know there's other cons that probably support you, where there's auctions for things that people donate, and then people can go and auction. You know, you kind of auction a bid on. That wasn't auction. You bid. He auctions. You bid on these items, and that money goes to supporting the organization Hackers for Charity. So maybe you could just give us a little bit of how's it going? You know, what's new on that, and what kind of things, struggles have you had, and how's DEF CON been for you this year?
Yeah, DEF CON's been absolutely great. You know, all the conferences are great. We're obviously a small kind of grassroots organization. You know, so the thing that's most valuable to us is this community, you know, the support that we get through the community. But, you know, one of the things that we've been focusing on recently is training kids. I love how excited you got about the kids CTF and things like that. And what you guys witnessed when you did the CTF is like, man, the kids are just sponges, you know, they really pick stuff up, you know, their brains are, you know, so much more resilient and active than older guys like Chris. You know.
I'm old. I'm old.
So we're really getting excited about training kids. So one thing that we're doing right now is we're working on an initiative where we'll go into schools in Uganda and East Africa with these exercises from code.org, which, you know, don't involve computers. You print some things out on paper, and kids will do like an exercise in binary, like understanding binary. So we want to go into like schools with like 400 kids or something, do this paper-based binary exercise, see how they do, and get like the top 10 kids who, like, you know, like you said, flew through this exercise. And we want to pull them into our training center that we have and actually get them online with the computers we have there and get them working on, you know, programming exercises to basically set up like a computer club for, you know, schools in Uganda by drawing them out of the classrooms and bringing them into our space. Think almost like a hacker space kind of environment. So we're really excited about, you know, that kind of stuff. And for the first time, we're actually taking volunteers over to Uganda. And we're, you know, bringing them on like a hacker safari, you can think of it. So the idea would be that you'd, you know, come for a couple days and you'd work with us doing something that you enjoy, maybe in our training center, or, you know, even for non-technical people, we support organizations that are in healthcare and, you know, orphans and, you know, adoptive agencies, whatever you want to do for a couple days and see what we do, and then, you know, take a safari, go whitewater rafting on the Nile, you know, that kind of stuff. Is
get eaten by an alligator.
That's optional.
That sounds like fun. What's the coolest part is the pictures when you see these little kids wearing like a Hackers for Charity T-shirt or a Backtrack or Cali T-shirt.
That's
it.
And,
you know, and they have these little netbooks you got going on. I think they're just so. I love the pictures. They're just so cool.
Yeah, it's fun. So we're really appreciative of the support that you guys give us through the community, and excited to see what's going on. So, yeah, thanks for asking about that.
No problem.
It's real exciting.
And just for the audience who didn't know, what's the website?
It's hackersforcharity.org. Yeah, just do a Google search for hacker and charity, and it'll come up. It's kind of a rare thing.
Yeah, kind of a rare thing. I remember when you started that, it was I Hack Charities.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, man, this guy's nuts. Like, that's going to get him in so much trouble. I Hack Charities.
That's right.
I thought, that's just nuts.
It's great for social engineering. You wear that T-shirt, they can't focus on anything.
Yeah, they can't. They're confused. You do what? And you admit it? You're such a horrible person, you know? Any questions for Johnny on that? Because I think that's, if you have any thoughts or questions on Hackers for Charity. So if you guys want to check out the site while we get the question here.
I was able to check out the website. I'm kind of like a fan of the work you do out there. But I was just wondering, like, what, you touched on a little bit about where you see this go, but what is your vision for the future on the organization in Uganda there?
Yeah, I mean, basically what I'd like to do is I'd like to set up a tech incubator where we bring in, people that can collaborate on different ideas, give them like a lab space where they can collaborate, whether on hardware or software projects, give them access to office space and business training where they can take that idea and create a business and then set them out into, the economy with this business idea and just kind of generate, not only give the training, but show them how to create businesses. So yeah, on that side, that's one of our biggest goals is to really go from being a training center to being a tech incubator. In terms of outside Uganda, our biggest goal is to find volunteers all over the world that have a skill, that really want to use that skill and have a little bit of spare time to help charities and nonprofits that maybe can't afford technical, the technical skills that they need. So we have a very simple volunteer list that you can sign up for on the website. You just fill out a little form that says, hey, this is who I am. We put you on a mailing list, and then every now and then we'll send out emails, say, hey, we got this charity that needs, they got locked out of their website or had some problem with the webmaster, or, is anybody willing to help out? And it really comes out of the idea that when I went to Uganda, I saw, how effective our skills could be in places that really have, no technology background at all. Our skills can go a really long way to help people that, don't have access to that. And the feeling that you get after doing that, it's really hard to describe until you've done it. You're like, wow, I feel really good about helping them in that way with really such little effort.
Yeah.
So that's really what we're going for.
It's a nice reward for you and for them.
It is, yeah.
So, Johnny, you are a 501c3, correct?
We are.
Okay, so I'm going to essentially dox myself. Dell is big on helping out nonprofits get more funding. So they do little things like you can put people up to like grow a mustache, and it's so many hours, and after like 10 hours, I believe it is, they'll donate like $100 or $200 to the nonprofit of your choice. And within the company, the more people doing this, the more money the nonprofit gets. And Johnny, actually through Spritel, one of your lackeys, he's gotten me into working to get, at least for my team, set up to help support that. So you might want to look into whatever company you have or work for to start working with supporting possibly Johnny or any other nonprofits you.
Yeah, that's a
feel
great
for.
point. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. Dell and other companies also do matching, employee matching. So anybody that works for these companies, if you donate something, the company will match it. And of course, it's tax deductible.
Hey, Michelle, can you grow a mustache in 10 hours? Because we can do that one.
I'm working on it right now.
Okay. So if she can do it, we'll all donate money, right? No, just kidding.
Yeah.
We'll do it without the mustache.
That's
Michelle.
It'll be so worth it.
I can't grow a mustache in 10 hours, so no, it's not bad. Excellent, guys. So listen, before we end it, I just want to say that this year's event, for those of you who have come to more than one SE Village, this year was phenomenal. We had no problems. I waited till Sunday to say it, so now everything can blow up and I don't care. But I mean, usually we got sound issues. Usually we got, rooming issues. We usually have all sorts of people issues. And this year, everything went perfect. I mean, utterly perfect. But I get a lot of credit for this, and it's really, I'm just a tiny, tiny portion of what happens here. I mean, we got Billy Boatwright stores all of this stuff. Everything you see here gets stored at his house, and his wife still loves him. And he does it for nothing and then transports it here. We get Jim.
Yep. Billy,
I don't
want to interrupt
No,
you.
go ahead.
Billy did the same exact thing for us, like packages that we're taking back
guy's
to Africa.
crazy,
It
isn't
was
it?
like 50 packages. So.
Yeah.
Thank you, Billy.
And no matter what he's got going on in his life, like 100, Billy, I'm going to embarrass you for a second. 127 operations this guy's had, right? Or is it 128? 128. 128 operations on his throat. and this guy's still kicking. And he took our 5-day course in SE, and we send people out on engagements every night to engage with complete strangers. And he nailed the homework every night. He's one of the best human interactive social engineers I've ever met. And it doesn't matter what's going on in his life. He put himself through college, 2 business degrees. And now he's working on some amazing thing you should talk to him about. And yet he'll drop everything and move boxes for me. It's just ridiculous. We can't do this without him, because I was paying for storage units and trucks and transportation, and he saved us all of that. I mean, just literally saved us all of that. Every year we come back, I get Nick Hitchcock. Where's Nick? Nick helps me run the whole thing. It's not just security, it's setup, it's just being here so I can have someone to punch and abuse when I need to. And I've known Nick since he was like 13, 14, and we kind of grew up in this industry together. So having a friend like that just sticks with you is awesome. This year, Jim Manley, he calls drone strikes on people just for fun. But the guy's like one of the most important people in the universe, and he comes and like moves wires and tape for me. It's just ridiculous. Can't do anything without Jim. And then I have my core team. I got Amanda and Mike and Tamara, and of course Michelle. And without that group, none of this happens. I mean, the kids event wouldn't happen if it wasn't for Amanda waking up and working like millions of hours for the last 4 months with Tamara and Michelle on ciphers and figuring this stuff out. And this was the most organized event. One kid actually asked me, "What happened? It was really hard this year." Which, of course, demoralized me, because I'm the one who did it every other year. So now they're like, yeah, that's because I had help this year. Thank you very much. Doc Bones comes in, helped us with shooting. Let me tell you the story about Doc Bones. I tweeted, just as fun last year, looking for a sniper that can help me shoot children at DEF CON. That was my tweet. He answered. I don't know if this is a good thing or not, because I didn't put any details, but what we had bought was these 2 very large Nerf rifles that we had modified, and the last part of the competition was that him and Jim, which are both great shots, stood in the room and shot the kids while they tried to run through to put a skiddly tube into a box, and if they got hit, they had to go back. And the kid that won, the team that won, let me tell you how they did it. They used the one guy as a human shield. So the deal was the kid holding the skiddly tube couldn't get shot. If he did, they had to go back to the beginning. So they figured out, I'm going to use my brother as the human shield. I'll hold it. And he took all the hits. And this guy was like, pow, pow, pow. The kid's like, and he's still there running through the room. And no mercy, either of these guys. That's how I met Doc here. X, Mr. X, where are you? Right here. This guy comes every year and just photographs us, helps us move stuff, and his additional brought Anna into the family and team. And without them, this thing doesn't run. So guys, this is a team effort, and without them, none of this happens. So please help me say thank you to all of them. Of course, Johnny took time out of his busy schedule running the booth at Hackers for Charity, packing up to come over. So check out hackersforcharity.org if you can. Support them, guys. They're doing a really good thing. I mean, Johnny gave up his whole life here in the States, probably a very comfy job, to move down there to help kids and other people get technological resources to benefit their lives. So support them. We do, and we love these guys. So check out hackersforcharity.org. Of course, for us, social-engineer.org, socialengineer.com, social-engineer.com. We got outro music. This is awesome.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, it was great timing. On IRC, if you like IRC, irc.freenode.net on channel social-engineer. Human Hacker is our Twitter, and SOC Engineer Inc. is the corporate Twitter. If you got any questions, we're here for a while. Come on up and ask. And if not, thank you guys, and hopefully we will see you at next year's DEF CON. See ya. Yes.
I did, yeah. Chris. Might have left them back at the booth, though. Yep, I did.